At 68 years old, I cooked my son's favorite dinner, bought a cake, and set the table for 3. By 8 o'clock, the food was cold, the cake was untouched, and the only person sitting there was me. Then my phone rang. My son didn't call to wish me happy birthday. He called to give me a choice: apologize to his wife's family or accept that I might lose him forever. He thought I would do what mothers always do: forgive, sacrifice, and stay silent. He was wrong. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I made one decision that changed everything. And when he discovered what I had done next, he finally understood that losing me was not the same as controlling me. I'd genuinely like to hear your perspective. If someone you loved asked you to sacrifice your dignity just to keep the relationship, what would you do? Would you keep trying to repair things, or would you finally choose yourself? Share your thoughts below. At 68 years old, I thought the hardest thing life could do was take someone away from me. I was wrong. The hardest thing was realizing someone I loved was quietly planning a life without me. My name is Mara Bennett, and for 39 years, I built Bennett Construction from nothing. After my husband, Peter, passed away, I raised my daughter Hannah alone while keeping the company alive. I never complained because I believed every sacrifice was building a future for my family. Then, a few months ago, I started noticing small changes: questions about my business, conversations about my future that happened when I wasn't around. My son-in-law suddenly acting like decisions about my life were family decisions. I ignored the signs because mothers are good at finding excuses for the people they love. Then came Christmas dinner. I walked toward the kitchen with a pie in my hands and heard my name through the half-open door. I didn't hear a perfect conversation. I only heard enough. They were talking about my company, about how long I could keep control, about what would happen next. Then I heard my daughter say quietly, "I know." That was the moment something inside me changed. I didn't walk in and cause a scene. I placed the pie on the table, smiled, and went home. A few days later, Hannah called and said her husband's family felt I had judged them unfairly. Apparently, they believed they were only discussing practical plans for the future. They felt I had embarrassed them by pulling away and refusing to continue the conversation. Over the following weeks, Hannah kept insisting that one apology from me would restore peace between everyone. But she never once asked why people were making plans about my company and my life without including me. One evening, she finally admitted that her husband's parents thought I should start considering retirement and allow younger people to help manage certain decisions. Hearing my own future discussed as though I had already stepped aside hurt more than I wanted to admit. That night, I stopped asking how I could keep everyone happy. I started asking how I could protect myself. Weeks later, on my 68th birthday, I set the table for 3. I cooked Peter's favorite meal. I bought Hannah's lemon cake. I waited until the food went cold. Then my phone rang. It was Hannah. She didn't call to wish me happy birthday. She called to tell me I needed to apologize to her husband's family and fix the situation. Then she said the words I never expected from my own daughter: "Mom, if you keep this up, you're going to end up alone." She thought I would apologize. She thought I would surrender just to keep my place in her life. Instead, I thanked her for finally being honest with me and ended the call. What Hannah didn't know was that while she was asking me to choose between my dignity and my family, I'd already made a choice. I'd love to know your thoughts. Do you think silence can hurt more than the betrayal itself, especially when it comes from someone you trusted completely? Share your perspective below. The morning after Hannah's call, I did something I had avoided for years. I stopped making excuses for people who kept hurting me. I didn't call her. I didn't send a long message explaining my pain. I simply sat down with my attorney and looked at the reality of my situation. The house, the company, and everything I had built needed protection, not because I wanted to punish my daughter, but because I finally understood that love should never mean leaving yourself completely unprotected. Over the next few weeks, the changes were made quietly. My trust was updated, my business documents were secured, my future was placed back in my own hands. I wasn't taking anything away from Hannah. I was simply making sure nobody could make decisions about my life without me again. Then I packed one suitcase, Peter's old watch, our wedding photo, the recipe book with his handwriting on the first page, the small things that reminded me who I was before I became everyone else's safety net. Before I left, I recorded a short video for Hannah. Not a goodbye, not an attack, just the truth. I told her I loved her. I told her I always would. But I also told her that love does not mean someone gets unlimited access to your sacrifices, your home, or your future. The next morning, I left for Charleston. For the first time in years, I woke up without waiting for someone else's approval. 11 days later, Hannah came to my old house with her husband. She expected to talk me into changing my mind. Instead, she found the new owners moving in. The sale had already closed. The decisions had already been made. The attorney had left a wooden box for her with instructions to open it only when she arrived. Inside was a copy of the documents she thought she would one day control, an old photograph of herself as a little girl sleeping on my shoulder, and the video I had recorded. She watched it standing there in the driveway. At first, she looked angry, then confused, then something changed, because for the first time, she wasn't hearing a mother who was fighting back. She was hearing a mother who had finally stopped breaking herself to keep everyone else comfortable. When the video ended, she called me. Once, twice, 10 times. I didn't answer. The first message she left sounded like the daughter who was afraid of losing something. She said she was sorry that things had gone this far, but I noticed something important. She still wasn't saying she was sorry for what she had done. 3 days later, another message came. This time, there was no anger, no blame, no explanation about what her husband wanted, just Hannah's voice. She admitted that she had heard those conversations at Christmas. She admitted that she had stayed quiet because she was afraid of upsetting everyone. And she admitted that her silence had hurt me more than any argument could have. I listened to that message twice. Then I sat by the window and asked myself one question. Was my daughter finally understanding my pain, or was she only missing the comfort I provided? Because forgiveness is easy when someone is afraid of losing you. The real question is whether they change when they no longer have anything to gain. I'd love to hear your thoughts. When someone apologizes after realizing they might lose you, what matters more to you? The words they say or the actions they take afterward? Share your perspective below. 3 months later, Hannah came to Charleston, alone. No husband, no excuses, no speech prepared by anyone else. She stood outside my apartment door holding the wooden box I had left behind, and for a moment, neither of us said anything. Then she whispered, "I'm sorry." I waited. This time, I didn't rescue her from the silence. "I'm sorry I chose everyone else's approval over you," she said. "I'm sorry I knew what was happening and stayed quiet. I'm sorry I treated your love like something I could always use." Those were the words I had needed to hear, not because they erased what happened. They didn't. But because for the first time, Hannah wasn't asking me to understand her. She was trying to understand me. She told me she had left her husband. She told me she wasn't there for the house, the company, or anything I could give her. She was there because she finally realized she had almost lost her mother while trying to keep everyone else happy. I looked at my daughter and said, "I love you, but we cannot go back to the way things were." She nodded. "I know." And that was when I believed her, because she wasn't fighting to get back what she lost. She was accepting why she lost it. The company stayed protected. The house was gone. Nothing was undone. But something new slowly began. Not the old relationship where I gave and she assumed, a different one built on honesty and respect. On my 69th birthday, Hannah showed up at my door with a lemon cake and Peter's old recipe book. She smiled and said, "I came early because I didn't want you waiting for someone who might not come." I looked at her, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel hurt. I felt peace. We cooked dinner together. She burned the onions. I laughed. She laughed. It wasn't the life we had before. It was better, because this time we both understood what it was worth. I never got my old life back. I didn't want it back. The woman who walked away had finally learned that loving someone does not mean losing yourself. And sometimes the strongest families are not the ones who never break. They are the ones who learn how to rebuild differently. I'd truly like to hear your perspective. Do you think a relationship becomes stronger when people forget the past, or when they remember it and choose to do better? Share your thoughts below.